I was told that Stugotz has recovered from his toothache, and I was also told that he had a flight in this morning. Unfortunately, I was told that that flight was delayed. And so Greg Cody has rushed in. Amin Al-Hassan has rushed in. Greg Cody is happy to say that he has Stugotz's exclusive thoughts on the first round of the draft. What are you laughing about?
No, I mean, they are. It's a big deal. I mean, Mr. God Bless Football is
one of the misters on
yes,
God Bless
one
Football.
of the misters, of course, with Billy. They're a dynamic duo.
Well, one of the many misters. They've got a whole slew of misters
Right.
on God Bless Football. The entire Gronk family is on God
Sure.
Bless Football.
Yeah, we know who the stars are, though.
There are many, many misters.
Right, that's true.
But he is on the Greg Cody show featuring Greg Cody.
With-
The latest episode.
Yes, he is. Just came out today. Pick it up. Pick it up like a newspaper. Read it. Look at it on YouTube. Whatever you like to do. Do it till you're satisfied.
Greg, I have an idea. You heard of tablets? You know about tablets?
Like
He was
the
around.
pill that you swallow?
No,
He was around during the original 10 Commandments that were written on them.
Well, like now, like laptops, tablets, like the tablet you have in
Sure.
front of you.
Yeah.
I think, and this is a business opportunity I'd love to go in with you on if we can make it happen, because I feel like you're the face of this product.
Sure.
Foldable tablets with screens on all sides of it. And every one is like a newspaper. So like you have one page on the front side, then you open it up, you have a new page, a new page, a new page on the back.
I like
Then
that.
when you're done with that, open it again, 4 more pages, refresh.
That's a beautiful idea. I'm gonna add, because I'm an idea man.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, I have the
gonna
idea.
layer this idea with this. There has to be the sound of riffling paper.
Yes.
The sound of a newspaper page being turned.
Yeah, there has to be the sound in the top corner, a little kind of like ink pad. So when you turn it, your fingers are dirty from
Yes.
turning the page.
Man, you get me.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Get to work on that, will you?
All right.
Yeah.
Call
the patent office.
I know I have told you guys this story before, but to me, it's like my favorite journalism is dying story. A 10-year-old son of a friend of mine walks into a Sunday breakfast nook with his 10-year-old friend, and my friend is physically reading a newspaper. And the 10-year-old, his friend, says to my friend, "What is that?" when someone is holding a newspaper. And that question is great by itself. But the next question is the killer, which was, how did it get here? And so when my friend said, a kid on a bicycle threw it yesterday's news in the bushes, like the 10-year-old's response was some form of, "You're shitting me." Like your father's a prankster. There's no way that that's how they got here. That there's just no way that was in the basket of some 12-year-old kid who then threw it in the bushes. That's not a thing that was worth a quarter back in the day.
Foul mouth on that 10-year-old. Who's raising that kid? Jeez Louise.
I said the equivalent of it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're surviving.
Newspapers are so damn expensive now. I went to get one as a prop for a video that I had to do for DoorDash. One paper, and it was akin to a pamphlet. It was 2 sections, and then the second section, the first page was the sports section, and then inside was like culture and everything else. It has to have been maybe, and shout out to all the people who are still writing for newspapers. I love and respect you all, but it was maybe like 22 pages total. The thing was like a pamphlet, $3. For a Wednesday newspaper. Yeah, $3. It was insane.
Greg Cody just got done saying they're surviving. Are they?
Well, the print edition is not. The online edition, the digital edition, is not. I didn't say thriving. I said surviving.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Are newspapers surviving? Because I don't believe they're surviving right now. I believe they're dying.
Well, but when you say newspapers, if you mean that literally, if you mean the print edition that is still thrown onto lawns, I would agree with you.
Okay, well, I'm starting there, but that's the beginning of the death. Like that's the diagnosis is the patient is terminal. The patient is dying.
The problem is newspapers, people don't understand how versatile they are. You think a newspaper is just to read news. No. Newspapers are to put down when you're painting things, to pack things with. You can use newspapers for almost anything. In fact, I would argue I've used newspapers for more things than I've read newspapers. I don't think that I've read as many newspaper articles as I've used newspapers to do 1,000 other things. We can't lose. We're losing recipes, people. We're losing newspapers. We can't let this die. But I'm not paying $3 for it. Crazy.
No, I agree. You got a bird? Put a Greg Cody column on the bottom of the cage.
Exactly. There you go.
Looks like magic.
That's still a thing that people put it on the poll, please. At Le Batard Show, are people still using newspapers in their bird cage? Because I'm thinking it's hard to get the newspaper to do that. You can get something cheaper than $3 to do that.
I had a bird, Paulie, running out of newspapers. Couldn't put Greg Cody at the bottom of the cage. You know what that bird became? An upset bird.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat from the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go on, man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man, so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
What are you smirking about?
I caught myself worrying way too much about the positioning of my thermos bottle and whether or not my Greg Cody show decal would show on your air. I really shouldn't be, that worried about it. But what can I tell you?
Let's get a thermometer in here. Does he have a fever? Greg Cody felt self-aware about self-promotion.
I did. Yeah.
But he was just smiling to himself, thinking about how self-involved he was. Like, I was starting the show, and I was about to say, I've got too much to talk about. I'm not going to be able to get to all of the things just in basketball from the weekend, never mind everything else. And I imagine that a lot today is still covering Shedeur Sanders, so I'm stuck in a situation where not merely am I miserable because I have to talk about people who were drafted. That's the first time I've ever seen a draft become about the guy who wasn't drafted. Like, I've seen guys drop, but I have never before seen that. I'm not allowed to play the clip from Bill Burr. None of us have seen that precipitous a drop. I think all of us would have argued that being Deion Sanders' son would help right up until it didn't. Because all things being equal, it did not help. It's one of the factors. There are a bunch. Like, a lot of people are going to want to cite only one factor. There are a bunch when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. But Bill Burr, I can't play the clip, but he does a bit. You have the sound. I can't play the video, but you have the sound. All right. So rather than me saying it, why don't you go ahead and play the sound?
You know what? That's what you get for watching the draft. All right. Now, once again, what kind of a loser just sits there watching round after round? The Jets are up next. I think they need a cornerback. They need to improve the defensive line. Dude, that's like going to a graduation ceremony where you don't know anybody who's graduating and just fucking sitting there. They're going to have the whole list the next day. They'll have everybody who drafted, who, when. Got to sit there and watch that shit. Those stupid interviews. Hey, you're a member of the Buffalo Bills. How does it feel?
Well, it's a blessing. I want to thank God. I'm going to try to do my best. It's a great organization. And I'll say the last 80 guys said. So, yeah.
I don't like the draft, and I'm not going to make this show about that. But I do want to ask the question seriously at Le Batard Show. Are human beings better at evaluating horses than football players? Because Mel Kiper is associated by name with knowing how to do this one thing. And he spent 41 hours on television with Shedeur Sanders as his best available prospect. And his anger is born not of anything other than, I'm right, the NFL is wrong. This happens a lot. It's the same reason for Skip Bayless's anger. It has something to do with Stephen A. Smith's anger. Like, the media does not like being wrong about something. And so you get an emotional response to that wrong that is Mel Kiper making Reese Davis insane. Let's play some just sound of Mel Kiper trying to basically argue that he knows more than everyone in the NFL about evaluating prospects.
The NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. No idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that.
How many
times? They say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback. They don't.
He ended one segment by saying he was just totally disgusted. And let's just play the sound where he gets Reese Davis mad. I've never seen Reese Davis mad on television. This was like seeing a Macy's mannequin get furious.
But Mel, the draft has spoken.
That's right. That's the key, Mel. It's not putting a value judgment on whether those who passed were right or wrong. They did.
Yep.
So now, whenever you're in circumstances in life, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, whether they're fair or whether they're unfair, you might have to deal with them.
That's
and
right.
now Shedeur Sanders has to deal with it.
Everything.
And for whatever reason, whether he played a minute, microscopic percentage, 0%, or it's a legitimate criticism of the way he conducted himself during the draft process, this was the result.
Yeah.
Now he has an opportunity to answer it. I think yelling at the NFL about it is not productive.
Feels like they pushed a button on Shedeur Sanders, right? Like the call came from up top?
This is what Stephen A. Smith is arguing as collusion. I would say when people are confused, and we all are, because this is something we're doing that's really subjective, really unscientific. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. We do not know what we're doing when it comes to this evaluation, and I am serious about being able to measure a horse's ability to succeed better than whether an NFL prospect is going to succeed.
Dan, do you remember my first ever hit on the Dan Le Batard Show?
Yes.
I thought it was about Goran Dragic.
No. The first ever hit I had, I was driving from Bristol to Boston to go to a game, and there was a player for the Miami Heat who had taken the world by storm. His name was Hassan Whiteside. And Dan Le Batard said, get this, and Sedano says this guy knows basketball. So let's get Sedano's guy on the line. So he calls up. I'm Sedano's guy, and he said, how's this possible? How are all these people evaluating players for a living, and how did they all miss him? How was he in Lebanon in the YMCA? And I said, Dan, the kid was an asshole. And you were like, what? Well, I didn't say asshole. I said jackhole because we were on ESPN radio. So then I explained, I said, the talent is undeniable, but I told the story from pre-draft where there was a coach that asked them, what do you need to do to get better at the next level? And Hassan Whiteside said nothing. He didn't say anything. He said the answer, nothing. And the coach said, I get it, you're confident, we're all confident, but everyone's working. Everyone's trying to get better. Hell, Kobe Bryant's the best player in the league. He's working every day trying to get better. What do you need to get better at? And Hassan Whiteside said, nothing. Yeah. And so the coach loses his temper and says, oh, so you're just effing perfect, right? And Hassan Whiteside says, pretty much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you fall in a draft. If that, and I don't know what Shedeur Sanders did or didn't do in his pre-draft interviews, but when you look at the talent, you say, okay, he's got the talent, but then you counterbalance it with A, the record was all right, not great, not awful, but just all right, and then B, like you how you comport yourselves in these situations. They matter. And I would imagine in the NFL world, it matters even more because they really don't like eccentric personalities over there. And so I don't know what he did or said. Maybe it was mild. But I have an idea that when 30 teams pass over you once, or 32 teams pass over you once, twice, 3 times, 4 times,
yeah,
It must have been something that you said that was pretty egregious.
No. It can be and things that you said, but Ryan Leaf was drafted very high, and everyone knew what the problems were, and then became addiction problems on top of that. If you have the talent, the arm talent, Jeff George was an asshole. Everybody knew Jeff George was an asshole. It doesn't matter if you actually have the arm talent. The thing that makes it really hard with Shedeur Sanders, a number of things make it hard. Took more sacks than any other college quarterback. Now, I happen to know that that's because his offensive line stunk, but I cannot untangle all of the do-si-doing and running around in circles that he tried to do, extending plays with slow throw times, and he's not Kyler Murray, and he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not that kind of athlete. So you have that over there. You also have what Amin is saying, which is you can't be that cocky if everyone who's interviewing you knows you're not that good. Like that, the coaches were not surprised by him dropping in that draft. But to me, the part that is most worth examining on what happened here is why the disconnect between how and why so many people in the media were telling us that this was going to be someone who was drafted second or third as a quarterback to falling into the 5th round. Why the disconnect between what the media was telling us and what actually happened that ended up with all of the experts being confused. Coaches were not surprised that he fell. Everyone was surprised that he fell that much.
I mean, did you see? I mean, they're just reports and not confirmed, but how some of the meetings went, because like they were pretty comical. Like, and we don't know that this is real, but the reports were that he went in, he had headphones on, he had music playing the entire time. They were around his neck, so they weren't over his ears. He had an entourage come with him. They asked him things like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And he'd say things like, "I'm going to be the mayor." And then they would just kind of like, his entourage would laugh at him. Supposedly the one with the Giants went very poorly, even though Dable came out. I think the thing, beyond everything else is there's only a handful of teams that needed a starting quarterback, right? And once Pittsburgh elected not to get him, really once the Giants went with Jackson Dart, it became a thing of, okay, well, he could be Pittsburgh, maybe next round. Then Pittsburgh didn't get him, and then it became a fall. And when you didn't bring him in to be the starting quarterback, then every team who either interviewed with or didn't interview with, or his dad said he wouldn't want to play for, or whatever, how much are you going to invest in someone to be your backup quarterback that you don't really know what you're going to get if he's tanking the interviews?
It wasn't just the physical limitations. It wasn't just the entourage. It was that if you draft Shedeur Sanders, you're drafting Dion and all that circus.
The Hall of Famer, Dion?
The Hall of Famer,
the Hall of Famer who's better than any of your coaches at football.
Yeah, but you're not drafting Dion to come coach your team or play for your team.
You're drafting
Dion in a LeVar Ball role.
All right, be a leader. Be a tough leader. And can you handle Dion or not? Like, you can't handle a dad coach?
But Dan, like, you're asking for, like, the Giants, for example, where Daboll is about to lose his job to gamble his future career on Shedeur Sanders. And if they butted heads in the interview, why would he do that?
And Dan, this is true in every sport. We'll put up with as much as your talent dictates. Yeah. He's good. Is he great? That kind of story good? Bring in the headphones. That's my point. Like, there are guys like, yeah, he's a hell of a player. But it's like, if you come in acting like that, you better be the LeBron James of this. And I think he's not the LeBron James of college football last year. He wasn't. So it has to be commiserate on some level, and especially in that sport and especially at that position where they're like, this person's supposed to be a leader. Even if he is great, like, how can I have a leader who comes and makes a mockery of things? Again, that's allegedly because we don't really know what happened. The funny thing, Billy, of all the stories I heard, the Daboll one is the one that sounds the realest. All the other ones sound like they're just trumped up kind of.
I mean, it's all speculation, right? Because none of the teams are going to confirm any of this. Because what's the point of it when you're going through a draft and
they'll do it anonymously?
Well, but even that, there's no point. Every team but one didn't take him, right? And he ended up landing in a pretty good spot for him. It's a team that some people speculated he was going to be at anyways. And I mean, him falling to the 5th round.
That's not a good spot for him.
That is a good spot for him.
No, it's a terrible spot for him.
Okay.
It's a quarterback room that's got 4 other quarterbacks.
Yeah, that he can beat out for a starting job, Dan. Deshaun Watson is not going to be there. Joe Flacco is injured every time. There's 2 rookie quarterbacks. He could win a starting job. He could get significant playing time
The
this year.
reason it's not a good spot is because you heard his father say, if he goes to Cleveland, we're going to Eli the situation. It's not where we want to be.
Okay, but his father, it was proven, didn't have that power.
I'm just telling you that it's not a good spot when that's how they're viewing it.
I mean, that quote is old too. That wasn't like from yesterday or over the weekend. So I mean, and
you guys are going to have some trouble naming Brown skill position players that aren't Chubb, who's broken, or Njoku, who is shirtless. Like you guys are gonna have some trouble. You guys are making the reason that this is a bad spot for Shedeur to go in the 5th round beyond money is because you get so many fewer opportunities when the situation is like what you were saying with Dayball. People are not going to give the 5th round pick a whole lot of chances when they've invested a lot of money elsewhere.
But he's not a typical 5th round pick. He's a 1st or 2nd round talent that fell to the 5th round that they were able to steal.
Guys, we've gone about 15 minutes in the show. Can we talk about the phone call now? I've been waiting. We're doing all this serious draft talk like Bill Burr was talking about. But no, man, I want to talk about the prank call. I don't even want to talk about how stupid and how insensitive it was. I want to talk about how the person making the call is the son of an NFL coach. Yeah. How in the hell? And not like an 8-year-old. 21.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. If your name is Jax, are you more likely to get into trouble like this? Because his name is Jax. He is the son of Jeff Ulbrich, the Atlanta defensive coordinator. And apparently this wasn't the only time they did this. I don't know what was dumber, the prank or showing everybody that you were the one responsible for the prank. But if you're going to do the prank, you don't want to do it quietly. You want to get credit for the prank if you're a teenager.
Back in the day, you used to do the prank call for you and your buddy. That was it. You would make the call, you put it on speaker, you'd laugh, haha, look what we did. All of a sudden, now people are doing it for the clout. I mean, I don't like that.
Doing it for the clout. And guess what? 298 million, 300 million Americans could do it for the clout, and it's fine. You know who can't do it? Someone whose dad works in the NFL. You dumb little shit.
How much trouble is Jax in with his dad today?
He's out of the will.
Oh, yeah. He should be fired from the family. Seriously. I mean, what he did was literally inexcusable, and there's going to be repercussions there. I don't know what they'll be, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons got fined by the league or something, because this is a serious thing.
Am I making too much of a leap to say it's not just like, hey, man, your dad works in the NFL. That's a bad look on him. It's, where'd you get that phone number from?
Well, I mean, he said an open iPad. When he walked into a room, he saw the open iPad, and then magically Shedeur's number was in there.
So, in that sense, you want to talk about someone getting in trouble. Man, I could tell you stories about the Miami Heat being upset about video coordinators for allowing a playbook, an outdated playbook, to make it out the facility. Brother, you got your iPad just open and your kid went in there and made prank calls off of it? Like, that is next level deep shit. Jeff Ulbrich.
All right, so you're blaming Jeff when you need to blame Jax, unless you're blaming Jeff for the.
I'm blaming him for the open iPad.
For the parenting, okay, parenting and an open.
He also
iPad.
just got there because he was like the Jets' interim head coach. Like, this isn't a first-year mistake, Jeff. Come on.
So Greg Cody is saying this is a bad, serious thing, and there need to be repercussions. And Amin is out here saying you dumb shit.
Little shit.
Yeah.
I am here to argue on behalf of the prank. I will preface this by saying, obviously cruel and obviously wrong to do. However, as a prank, it's a great prank. It works as a prank. If you're going to give Anthony Davis a show on Max, like, it's cruel, and people got mad on behalf of Shedeur Sanders because they're like, man, he feels bad enough. Don't do that to him when he's down. He's a national laughingstock. It's like piling on someone who's got so much internet shame. You guys wouldn't do that, right? You guys would never do that. Make a bunch of jokes on the internet about somebody who's drowning in internet shame. He's already in the shame. People are already feeling it on his behalf. However, you guys aren't going to argue with me that it doesn't work as a prank. For those of you who don't know what the prank was, someone called Shedeur Sanders and pretended to be the Saints that were drafting him as he fell in the draft. You guys will agree that as a prank, just by definition, that's how a prank works.
I would put a B on the execution. Yeah. I would have, because he does the call and says, but you're going to have to wait a little longer. And then I was like, look, man, I want you to go, if you're going to do this, right, let's game plan this. Let's go all the way. Yeah. Let's have him, like, really believe he got drafted by the Saints. Yeah. Let's have a lady call and say, okay, we got to set up your travel. Like, just take it all the way. Let's Nathan Fielder this thing. If we're going to do a prank, let's prank. Let's not do, but you're going to have to wait a little longer.
Nobody cares that Tyler Warren from Penn State was pranked. Nobody cares that Isaiah Bond was pranked. Cooper DeJean was pranked last year. No one cares about any of those, right? This is the only prank we care about? The fourth one of these.
I didn't even know those happened.
Right. This is the one everybody cares about because he's piling on a guy who's going through the worst night of his life.
In fairness, when they did it to him, they didn't know he would fall like 2 days and continue to plummet to the 5th round. It was, I think, a first-round prank, and it's like, all right, he's going to fall to like end of the first round, but we got him.
But you know that video doing numbers, right? Oh my God.
Videotaping, I don't understand the video. This isn't a crime, but I don't understand people videotaping felonious activities and putting it on the internet. It's the wildest self-snitching stuff that people do now. That's crazy.
It's doing crazy numbers, Billy. That's why.
It's doing crazy numbers. But like, okay, let's just play out how the NFL works, right? So Jeff Ulbrich, he now works for the Falcons. He worked for the Jets. He's like a career NFL coach, assistant coach. He'll go in, he'll be interim head coach, whatever, right?
Name never mentioned on this show before today.
That's not true. He was
interim head coach.
Yeah, he was the Jets interim head coach last year when they fired Robert Saleh.
I don't believe that.
We talked about how sexy he was with his beard last year.
There you go.
He's a good-looking guy.
Now you know it's true.
Yeah.
That was on God Bless Football.
No,
his name has never appeared on this show.
I'm not sure. Anyways, the point is, Jack's his son. Brother, all you have to do is like not do that. And you'll get a job and a career in the NFL. Your daddy's a coach already. Just don't tell yourself messing with famous draft prospects in the middle of a historic plummet, and you'll get a coordinator thing, and you'll work your way up, and then boom, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. But Mr. Gill, I don't want to work in the NFL. I want to be a star, the biggest star there is on YouTube and TikTok.
Cody, when you raise your finger, usually you want to talk.
I do. I can't honor this as a great prank until I hear it, because the idea of a 21-year-old imitating Mickey Loomis, who's like my age, it just doesn't. It can't be a good imitation.
Do you guys do old man voice? Can any of you do old man voice? Work on it in quiet and see if you can come up with an old man voice as people who are not old people. And in the interim, allow me to play just Bill Tobin many years ago speaking about Mel Kiper Jr. because I think people know this. Greg, you know this. Whether it's Joel Bucksbaum a million years ago, who was making a living and an identity around I'm good at analyzing whether young people will become professional prospects. That career and that group of people, an unusual group of people. It's not just because Mel Kiper eats pumpkin pie every day, or he should be jailed for how he eats pizza, which is to scrape all of the cheese off of the pizza.
Oh, that's great. I've done that.
What do you mean that's great?
It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you trust anyone who scrapes all of the cheese off of their pizza?
My dad does that, but it's more because he wants to do like a low carb thing. I'm like, buddy, if you want to do a low carb, I think Dan, you've kind of
get rid of the
too.
crust, not the cheese. Your dad doesn't know what carbs are.
He just grabs like the pizza and the pepperoni and the cheese off the top and then eats it. I'm like, bro, you just wasted an entire slice.
Those things don't have the carbs. The carbs are in the crust and the bread.
That kind of thing.
If it's a good pizza, the cheese just falls off. You don't need to take it off. It just falls right off the pie.
Let's listen to Bill Tobin here just tell you many, many years ago what he thought as an NFL executive of Mel Kiper Jr. and his draft ilk.
One question, Bill. A lot of criticism about not taking a quarterback here. Your response?
Well, we got a guy up there. Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way? I mean, here's a guy that criticizes everybody, whoever they take. He's got the answers to who you should take and who you shouldn't take. In my knowledge of him, he's never ever put on a jockstrap. He's never been a coach. He's never been a scout. He's never been an administrator. And all of a sudden, he's an expert. He's in our papers 2 days ago telling us who we have to take. We don't have to take anybody that Mel Kiper says we have to take. Mel Kiper has no more credentials to do what he's doing than my neighbor, and my neighbor's a postman, and he doesn't even have season tickets to the NFL.
Yeah.
Everybody had an opinion on this. Donald Trump, who will have an opinion whenever there are people gathered having opinions, wandered in and called all NFL owners stupid.
That put people in a corner, right? Where Trump is like, you guys got to draft Shedeur, and it's like, oh, wait. What do we want now?
Emmanuel Acho said that he should go back to college, not really understanding the way the rules work, saying that $6.5 million is what he could get in NIL money at Colorado, whereas the rookie wage scale is gonna hurt. It's gonna be a few $100,000.
Well, Trump is still angry at the NFL. Remember that he sued them. He won, but the NFL paid him $1 in that settlement.
Really? I don't think it's inconceivable that he goes back to Colorado. I know it's against NCAA
I'm pretty
rules.
sure it's completely inconceivable.
I know that it's against NCAA rules, but everything is changing in the NCAA and college football. There's got to be some sort of a path for him to get back to college, and that's why it's being reported, is speculated on by several people, not just him.
But it's not allowed. Billy, usually when you raise your finger, you want to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm confirming that we're talking about Shedeur Sanders because I was so thrown off by this idea. Do you think Shedeur Sanders would want to sign up for that draft night again? Like, because, again, he landed in a spot where he could end up starting.
Billy continues to say that a Cleveland Browns job is a good job.
They drafted a tight end and 2 running backs. They have Jerry Jeudy. Like, this is a good spot for him. He could start here.
To be fair, the expectations are 0. So all he has to do is have a good camp, and then Deshaun Watson flames out. We all know that.
I don't understand. Like, if he was drafted at number 2 by the Browns, we'd be celebrating it. But the fact that he was drafted in the 5th round by the Browns, it's a different team?
Jerry Jeudy, I am going to have to concede to you because he had a good year last year, even though it felt like Josh Gordon doing that with Brandon Weeden. You have to have a number 1 receiver. Jameis Winston is throwing the ball all over the place. All of a sudden, Jerry Jeudy looks like a number 1 receiver, even though physically he's always looked like a number 1 receiver, and never before getting to Cleveland has he played like a number 1 receiver. You and I can continue to disagree on whether a Cleveland Browns job is a good job. We can continue to disagree on whether having a quarterback room that has Deshaun Watson, Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Gabriel in it, Dylan Gabriel, like whether that's too crowded or not.
To be honest, when you got that many quarterbacks, Dan, what do you got?
You don't have any quarterbacks.
They're all beatable.
But
he's not going to be drafted by the Chiefs.
So are the Browns with any of them.
Okay, but like, if he would have gone to the Titans a better option for him? The draft, like, the bad teams are the ones that draft the quarterbacks.
I say that the bad setup for anyone is to be a 5th-round pick in a room where they have 4 quarterback options that aren't you, that they're paying more than you because of how it is that the Dayball thing works out, where people who have their jobs on the line tend to unite with management on going with people who are paid the most or invested in the most or drafted the most or traded the most for or is your guy, and Shedeur's not going to get the kind of reps in the 5 quarterback room that you need in order to win that job or show somebody something.
But it's not going to end up being a 5 quarterback room. They're going to get rid of some of them. And like your own argument is Shedeur's incredible value right now. You have him locked up for how many years? For what? Like, he's getting paid nothing on this rookie deal. Like, you're incentivized to keep him on your roster.
Yeah, they don't have a starting quarterback. It's not like he's coming in there trying to beat out him, and he's the 3rd guy right away. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if Shedeur Sanders winds up as their starting quarterback. And I think we can all agree that nobody in the NFL right now, certainly nobody coming out of that draft, is more motivated to show how good he is and to put up a middle finger to the NFL.
Let me go over a couple of things here before we move on to other things because, his pro day did have the showcase of Showtime on it. There were cookies with Dion's logo, a lot of legendary on it, a lot of the word legendary everywhere. And this kind of stuff was planned by Dion's event planner. And then you have this video of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders interacting and people showing you that they have their biases when it comes to arrogance. They're saying this right here is why Cam Ward goes number one and how it is that Shedeur Sanders ends up falling.
Come on, bro, let's make a song. Let's drop one, Richie. I play football. Here we go. Yeah, football. I play football. You ain't got no hobbies outside of that? I play football. That's the only hobby I want people to know me as, football player. Let's search up Cam Ward. We say American football.
Back in my zone, man, you know I can't stop. I was blue face, I was really with that mop. They said that I was slipping.
Cam Ward, that could have been edited out. I don't know why.
We got a little blue face
I don't know
nice.
why. Just enough to lose our YouTube monetization because we don't edit things correctly.
That one was
just idiotic.
That one wasn't even like the great clip. There's a better clip of them outdoors where they're talking trash, and Cam Ward says, "You're getting a water break after one drill," and Shedeur says, "I wasn't drinking water. I was drinking Gatorade. That shit they pay me for."
Cam Ward, 0-star recruit because nobody knows anything when it comes to this stuff. 0-star recruit. Like that, to me, that, Greg, was what was most on display with all of this. We think we know something when we don't know shit.
Is particularly at that position, I think. But you mentioned, you compared analyzing racehorses and athletes. Racehorses never give a bad interview. They never betray themselves with their arrogance when they're being vetted for athleticism. Shedeur Sanders did, plainly. People don't want that. They don't want the headphones and the disrespect.
Oh, but stop. Just
no. You're not, as Amin said, you're not good enough.
Does Anthony Edwards seem like he's real respectful, wandering around telling everybody at WrestleMania that his penis is bigger than everyone else's? Like, what does respect have to do with anything here?
Dan, Anthony Edwards is one of the very best players. He was a number one overall
Shedeur
pick.
Sanders is one of the few stars that there are in college football.
Hold on. I'm not talking about stars, man. I'm not talking about marketing here. I'm talking about basketball-wise. Everyone said, that dude's the man. Unequivocally.
I mean, Shedeur Sanders has been told he's the man since he was born. Only until this draft does he think he's not the man.
Dan, I'm telling you that the talent evaluation system had Anthony Edwards as the surefire number one overall pick. Not Daddy and my sycophants told me that. Not the internet told me that. The talent evaluation system, right? You can't compare Shedeur Sanders to Anthony Edwards as prospects coming in.
I think the other thing, too, is Anthony Edwards proved that he was him. Shedeur Sanders has been told that he's been him the entire time. When he had him on his team, Travis Hunter, who was that guy that went out and said, I'm going to play both sides of the ball, I'm going to play Heisman-level football, and here we are getting drafted, traded up for in the first round to prove that.
I mean, it's not entirely fair to Shedeur, right? Shedeur is a 5-star recruit out of high school. He got scholarship offers from everybody out there. Every team wanted him in college. To what Dan was saying, Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit. Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit in part because of the scheme that his high school ran. So he wasn't getting the offers because they thought that he was more of a runner than a passer. And then you had Incarnate Ward, who took a chance on him, and then he repaid Incarnate Ward because he signed with them, and then their coordinator goes on to Washington State. He follows them to Washington State, and then he proves that he's a star, ends up in Miami, becomes the number one pick in the NFL draft, which he also did because he decided to stay an extra year in college, where last year he wouldn't have been the number one pick in the draft. So, like, Cam Ward had it. They didn't see it because of the style of play that they were doing in his high school, but he proved that he was. Shedeur is someone that everybody wanted on their team, and he took a different path by following his dad to Jackson State and then to Colorado.
Also, real quick, like Tony said, Anthony Edwards told us about how big his dick was, up 20 in a playoff game at LA. Not over.
No, he did it at WrestleMania.
No, he did it. No, that was at a playoff game. That was courtside.
He was on the scorer's table.
Yeah, he's on the scorer's table. It was him and Rudy Gobert. He said, Rudy's worth 200, and Rudy went like this.
Oh, he did this. You got your cotton and glorious bastards.
Let me play some or read some sound to you from, I should say, read some back and forth between LeBron and Rudy Gobert this weekend that I wonder if you guys could ever again be friends with anybody that you had this back and forth with, okay? Just the trash talk that is common in the NFL at every turn, because there is plenty of trash talk everywhere. The back and forth was LeBron went to the referee and said, eject this mother bleeper. He just elbowed me in the head. Rudy Gobert came back at LeBron and called him a soft-ass mother bleeper. And then LeBron said, I will kick the shit out of you. That is an interaction that two human beings, now they don't like each other and haven't liked each other for a while, but if you guys had any of that as an interaction with your friends, you're pretty much done speaking for a while, correct? Like, or a coworker. If you're having that interaction with a coworker and then you have to work again with that coworker, are you still speaking with that person?
Incorrect. I've been in that situation, and then like 5 minutes later, hey, you want to go get a beer? Like, hey, man, that's what dudes do.
Is it? Okay, I've never done that. And like I've never had that exchange with anybody that I intend to have any kind of relationship with after that.
You never called somebody a soft-ass MFer?
No,
You never elbowed anybody in the head?
No, I don't do all of that.
If you're friends, you say those exact same words and it comes off totally different, right?
Okay, but the tone and the intent matter. Like, if you're friends and you're just fooling around, yes, these two people were not fooling around. The Lakers are about to have their season extinguished as a 3 seed. Anthony Edwards, the last couple of seasons, is slaying dragons.
But Dan, they're not friends. Why do you keep saying if you're friends, they're friends? Rudy Gobert and LeBron are not even close to
I'm just
friends.
saying that coworkers interacting in spaces that are even competitive, if we had that exchange, if you saw that exchange right now between two people in our office, that is not an exchange that will then just be forgotten. It's something that's going to linger here in the workplace and in the relationship.
Bad analogy. Better analogy is if it happened between you and Colin Cowherd or you and Dan Patrick. You guys aren't coworkers. You work for different companies, same industry. You should throw an elbow in the back of Dan Patrick's head, and then you're friends.
They are coworkers.
You're
They
friends.
share a space. They share a confined space together.
No, they're not coworkers, Dan.
They're competitors.
Dan, imagine if you will, we're at a construction site, right? And you're building this part, but then here come the HVAC people. Like, I don't work with the HVAC people. I'm just a carpenter here. So, like, if I throw an elbow into the HVAC guy's head, like, it doesn't, how could you do that to your coworker? Like, I don't know this dude, man. I've seen him around because he's on our job site, but that's it.
It's like a lion and a gladiator. Those were not coworkers. Those were adversaries. They were in a confined space together, but like they're looking to kill each other.
So the people who are hugging at the end of the games after they've won or lost, teammates sharing jerseys or opponents sharing jerseys, those people aren't coworkers?
No.
All NBA players aren't coworkers?
I don't want to to Billy. Actually, they were coworkers. Afterward, they would go get a beer at the local tavern, the Lion and the Gladiators. Oh, tough one today, huh? Yeah, man. Hey, you want to do me a favor? You want to stop with the spear? Like, I get it. You got to do a show, but come on, man. I'm getting poked.
Who's got the best old man impersonation back there? Who's got the best Mickey Loomis impersonation?
I think we all can give you one.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so I'll go first. I need complete silence to get into character. Yeah. Please do not interrupt. Close your eyes, because this is a prank call. You can't see me, right? This is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? That kind of thing.
I mean, that just sounds like you.
Let me give it another crack at it. Hold on.
It doesn't work.
Hold on. Let me give another crack at it.
Just go to commercial.
We're going to take you with our next pick right here,
Just
man.
shut his microphone off.
Gotta want to earn, gotta want to learn.
Just shut his microphone off.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Unfortunately, our crack team of editors isn't able to edit things in a way that doesn't cause music to play that affects our money. But they can find sound of me being wrong and Billy being right very quickly. Whether or not we've ever mentioned Jeff Ulbrich on this show before, this prank, I said we had not. Billy said we had. It appears he's right. Let's play that sound. I just don't think that you do this unless you know what you're doing next. Like, you don't just fire him without knowing what the next news is.
According to Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic, Jeff Ulbrich will be the interim coach. So he's the defensive coordinator and now the interim coach. Apparently, according to Zach, he's beloved by the entire Jets roster and staff.
Well, that always works.
Should have edited Samson out of there, too.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
It's just that last tail, damn, that last little tail of it.
He's the justice correspondent for The Nation. He's a New York Times bestselling author. His latest book, Bad Law, 10 Popular Laws That Are Ruining America, is available now. But we're here to talk to him about football, not politics. Elie Mystal is with us. And I want to ask you, among other things, whether you want to answer this as a Giants fan or as a black man.
Yeah, so
I haven't even asked the question yet. Shedeur Sanders falling in the draft. Go ahead and answer that however you want. Giants fan or black man?
Yeah, no, I got to start as a Giants fan first, right? Like my this is what my team does, right? And if the Giants want to know how good a quarterback can be when they have a loud father who is manipulating the draft, they need to look no further than Eli Manning, because there's ain't a thing that Deion Sanders is doing that he didn't learn from watching Archie Manning, right? People forget that Archie Manning literally would not let Eli play for the San Diego Chargers. Did the Giants say like, oh no, that's a locker room cancer waiting to happen? No, they were like, come on over. We're gonna put you. We're gonna put you on our team. Tom Brady wishes the Giants had reacted to Eli Manning the way that they reacted to Shedeur Sanders, right? Because he'd have 2 extra rings right now. It is pathetic. And the thing that I really, again, as a fan first, Brian Daboll is out here talking about how, oh, Shedeur Sanders, I didn't like how he reacted to our installation package. Brother, you 3-14. Maybe your installation package sucks. Like, has that occurred to you yet? Like, look, if Chuck Schumer, in my world, if Chuck Schumer is going to like draft me to run for Congress and he gives me the Democratic playbook right now, I'm going to be like, nah, Chuck, that ain't it. Because all y'all do is lose. Maybe I got my own plays that I want to run, Chuck. Like that, and that's just in my world. There's the idea that you can't draft a quarterback because you didn't like how he reacted to your 3-14 installation package is just, it's beyond me. So yes, as a Giant fan first, what a disaster. As an African-American male, look, ain't nobody do blatant racism quite like the NFL, right? Like you know how right now we got a lot of people talking about, I can't believe these Latinos voted for Trump. Don't they know they're going to deport them? And I'm like, brother, we watch the NFL. We can't talk. We can't talk to no Latino who voted for Trump because we watch the NFL. The league does this. The league plays in our faces like this all the time. And Sanders is just the most recent, most blatant example. And I know some of your listeners are going to be like, how can you tell it's racist? Because look, there are 2 kinds of racism, right? There's the racism that only happens because you're black. And people who don't like to think that racism exists, they love to talk about that kind of racism. Because as soon as they find one black man that it doesn't happen to, they'd be like, see, racism is solved. Barack Obama. What you got now? Like, scoreboard, Barack Obama. Like, but there's a different kind of racism, right? And that's racism that never happens to white folks. And you never see a white athletic talent drop like a stone in the draft because they didn't interview well, right? Nick Bosa out here interviewing like he's a January 6th terrorist. Doesn't affect him, right? Johnny Manziel out here interviewing like he's Nick Cage from Leaving Las Vegas. Doesn't affect him, right? The Jets, my crosstown rival team, their last quarterback interviewed like he was RFK Jr., ain't had a bath in 3 years, probably got rabies, ain't gonna affect him, right? But Shedeur Sanders interviewed poorly, so we can't draft him. They're playing in our faces, man. But the NFL does this all the time.
But Jackson Dart has a great name.
Nice.
From Ole Miss. From Ole Miss. Right? From one of the most ridiculously, long-term, literally named their team after the Confederates, Ole Miss. Jackson Dart's the guy. And look, hopefully, again, I'm a Giant fan. Hopefully Jackson does well. I don't want to shade Jackson just because of where he come from, right? I'm not like that. Right? I hope Jackson does well, but the idea that you can't draft Shedeur Sanders because he interviewed poorly or because you didn't like how he reacted to your installation package, that is just beyond ridiculous. And there are going to be people who believe it. There are going to be people who buy that rhetoric. I mean, I'm going to show my age a bit, but you remember, I know I'm very old, so I'm going to embarrass myself. But do you remember the Wonderlic test?
Yeah.
And you remember the year that Steve McNair dropped in the draft because apparently he did poorly on the Wonderlic test. When they want to come at you and you're black, they're gonna pull some things out of thin air to kind of Steve McNair. Deion Sanders, right? Let's be clear here. This is not a LeVar Ball situation. This is not a situation where you have an American businessman who's carpetbagging the league. Deion Sanders is in the Hall of Goddamn Fame. He is in the Hall of Fame for their clique. He is a coach. He is a really good coach. And you're telling me that his kid can't read a playbook? Can't learn how to prepare for a game? Are you kidding me? I went to Harvard. My kid knows how to do homework. All right? Right? He knows how to read a book. All right? This is kind of basic. There is zero chance that Shedeur Sanders does not know how to prepare for an NFL game with that kind of upbringing. There's just zero chance. So again, so these ideas that he is somehow, again, just on the strength of his interviewing, is not worthy of being drafted on the first 2 days of the draft. That is incredible on its face, and yet that's the game they're playing. And that's where I'm saying it's racist. That's where I'm saying this doesn't happen to white folks, right? Baker Mayfield can go on the sidelines, with his hand in his crotch for the entire fourth quarter. Ain't nobody gonna say anything. But when it happens to a black guy, now we have all the... Dan, you would know better. Does Shedeur Sanders have a parking ticket? Does this kid has, as far as I know, absolutely no off-field issues, right? And we're talking about a league where some brothers got some off-field issues, right? This guy doesn't have, as far as I know, a substance abuse problem. There's no video of him hitting women. He wasn't at a Diddy party, as far as I can tell. This guy does not have off-field issues. So this is all about who he is and who his dad is, and somehow when he's black, having a famous dad and an outspoken dad doesn't hurt him at all. But when you're a Manning, I swear, if this man was named Seamus Manning instead of Shedeur Sanders, he'd have gone number 3 to the Giants. End of story.
Let me ask you this, because I'm honestly not sure what the answer is. If the Giants had drafted Sanders with a 3rd overall pick, what would your reaction have been?
I mean, I hold my breath. I'm like, okay, let's go. This should work. It should work. He should be good. I don't know. I can't evaluate quarterbacks. I'm not Mel Kiper, right? But based on the information that's been given to me, he should be good. The only good football-based answer that I've heard about why he might have fallen is the Travis Hunter corollary, right? It's the, was he very good, or was Hunter just an all-world talent that covered up some of the things that he didn't do well, right? And I don't know that. As a friend of mine made the argument, I was talking about Manziel earlier, that it might be a Manziel-Mike Evans situation where, when you look back on it, Mike Evans is the person that is making Johnny Football look so good at A&M. maybe that's one of the things. And so so again, I don't know if he's going to be good, but the idea that he's, again, cannot be drafted in the first 2 days based on what they're telling me, right? Because what you don't have is a bunch of football people telling you about football reasons for why they're falling in the draft. When Mel Kiper lost his ever-loving mind during the draft, which was, I mean, that was just popcorn. Like, I love the old school Mel, right? When he's losing his mind to Louis Riddick during the draft, what is Riddick coming back from him with, right? Riddick's not coming back with him like, well, he doesn't have the arm strength to make the down. He's not saying that at all. Riddick is saying that what he's hearing is that it's all these personnel issues, these personality issues, these interview issues, right? So even the NFL is not giving you football reasons for why this man fell.
There are some football reasons. He took a lot of sacks. His arm strength is down. Coaches aren't surprised by that. I should let you know, and this has happened to me because sometimes I read before pronouncing things publicly. I have said the word panache to describe someone like Deion Sanders instead of panache. So I will let you know it's Shedeur, not Shedeur. I will just let you know.
What did I say? I was saying Shedeur.
No, that's okay. It's just because people will nitpick about that. How do you counter the idea, as many people will say, well, people drop in the draft. This isn't racist. This doesn't have anything to do with racism. And you can't say that if his name was Manning, he would have been the 3rd pick in the draft, absolutely, instead of a 5th-round pick. That's you're being too much of an absolutist there about that.
Well, of course. Look, I can't prove it, right? Because one of the things that racists are pretty good at doing is not admitting what they're doing while they're doing it, right? So you don't have Brian Daboll saying like, oh, I would have drafted him, but like, oh, too black for me. Like, he doesn't say that, right? And so without that kind of, let's say, self-incrimination, I can't prove it. What I can say is that you don't have a lot of situations where people who are thought to be 2nd or 3rd best quarterback in the draft go through to the 3rd day and have most of the concerns about them to be personality concerns. That just doesn't happen, right?
No, there's never been a situation like this at all. This has never existed, but as with many things that happen, I find myself very often seeing racism in some places, but on this one, I think there are greater factors than that one. I think that can be one of the factors, but I think a lot of people are seizing on a factor as opposed to the fact that this one had a lot of factors. There were a lot of things that were confusing about this, including being able to untangle him from his offensive line and his wide receiver at Colorado, where they took a program that was the worst in the nation and made it matter. And all of us had into the draft, we're all hearing he's the 2nd best quarterback. That never falls to the 5th round, ever.
Nope, it really doesn't. And here's another thing, Dan, and I take your point. Again, you can't prove, you can't isolate. It's never, we don't have the perfect control group set up to prove the point to the level of the scientific method. But let's also think about this. Let's look at the fact that, we're arguing about whether or not Deion, whether or not his dad, whether or not his famous lineage hurt him. I think what we can say pretty clearly is that it didn't help him. And it always helps white folks. Again, look at the Manning example. It did, like, if you have concerns about his personality, his preparation, and offensive line and all this kind of stuff, but he's coming from a famous quarterback family. He's coming from a famous football family. If you're white, that usually helps. That usually helps arrest the slide, if you will, right? Anybody think if Arch Manning ends up being pretty decent, and all early indications are that that he is, although since I mispronounce Shedeur, I should do the same. If Arch Manning ends up being pretty good, right? Do we think that he's going to slide to the 5th round because people are worried about that Manning family? They got too much power in the NFL. You don't want the Mannings. You don't want Eli and Peyton sitting in the ESPN room, reanalyzing and second guessing your playbook, do you? So we don't want the Manning family around us. So we're not going to draft Arch. Like, does anybody think that's going to happen?
It's crazy. What he's saying is crazy, and it's also not totally wrong. I think I can make the argument now, and most people would agree with it. All things being equal, at the end, Deion being his dad didn't help. Like, you can make arguments it didn't hurt, but you can't make arguments it helped. Like, being Deion's kid helped him at every stage along the way toward professional football and the first incarnation of professional football in college. But as soon as he gets to the pros, all things being equal, we can't make the argument that having a Hall of Famer as your dad helped him at all, correct?
No, but I would make this point. If you have the physical skills that make you a high first-round pick, and nobody's disputing that, you can survive having a loudmouth dad, if I'm being frank, or an involved dad who you're going to end up drafting along with the player, and you can survive everything else. You can survive a bad interview if you have absolute number one pick skills, and he didn't. But
we thought he did.
No, not really.
The lowest anyone had him falling was the second round.
Well, Diana Rossini was on your air last week saying that she predicted he was not going to get picked in the first round, and he was falling. It wasn't.
Yeah, but second round and fifth round, those.
Yes, that's the shock. That's unprecedented, and I would use this as anecdotal information. Mel Kiper picked him number 9. This was the first time ever that a Mel Kiper top 10 pick has gone that low. I know that's anecdotal, but we haven't seen what we saw with Shedeur Sanders dropping.
Elie, people are accusing your name of being fake. They're saying it's too perfect, and the Mystal has an air of mystery around it. So is yours a nom de plume, or is that a real name?
My name's real, my hair is real, it's Haitian, and I feel like Miami listeners are going to have met quite a few Elies. It's a fairly common Haitian name, but a lot of people think that I'm named after a girl, so whatever. You roll with what you got.
Well, the Mystal is the thing. It's got an air. It feels like there's smoke and mystery around it.
It sounds like a drink.
It's more sac passe. Like it's just Creole, man. That's all that is. Look, I just to the point of if he had rock solid first round talent. That's the other thing about the draft, right? It is not. Everybody knows that it's not an exact science. And so again, I kind of look at these other factors of what should have helped him, what should have hurt him. And like Dan just said, it's very clear that being Deion's kid did not help him. But you know what probably did help him? What probably did arrest the slide? And I hate saying this, very, very much. Donald Trump's tweet talking about how all these people were idiots for not drafting. And, of course, Trump had to do it in the most, eugenics way possible, right? He's got good genes, right? He's got superior genes. That's how he had to do it, because that's the way that fascist man thinks. But bottom line, Jimmy Haslam, right? The owner of the Browns, he's a big GOP donor. My friend Joe Patrice on Above the Law, we were talking about this last night. He's a huge GOP donor. If you look at that footage of Barry being forced to draft him, it seemed pretty clear that wasn't his call, right? It seems pretty clear that he got a call from the owner saying draft that kid after they had gotten their super awesome 5'9" quarterback from Oregon. Seems like Jimmy Haslam kind of overtopped his GM and made him do that pick. And I can't help thinking that might have something to do with Mr. He's got great genes, Trump coming out and saying something about it, right? Even this morning, I saw at the White House press briefing, what's her face? Not Kaylee, the new Kaylee was out there talking about how, all she can say is that Trump tweeted about it and then he got drafted. That's literally that's the White House spin on this. And again, Jimmy Haslam, big GOP donor. So I can't say that had nothing to do with arresting the fall and where he actually ended up.
Elie's latest book, Bad Law, 10 Popular Laws That Are Ruining America. We didn't talk about any of that. Next time. Thank you. Always good seeing you, Elie. Always nice talking to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
A story from the Giants this weekend, Greg, that I wanted to get your thoughts on. I don't know how the group felt about Abdul Carter saying that he wanted Lawrence Taylor's number. What are you smiling about, Tony?
I mean, we talk about Shedeur Sanders going in with the headphones and being like, I'm the man, I'm him. And then you get to a guy like Abdul Carter and you're like, yeah, I want Lawrence Taylor's number. Let me have that.
That's some balls,
but that's okay. Like, we're all good.
Is it okay?
I can see him asking. He's the number 3 pick. He's supposed to be a great specimen.
So was Deion Jordan.
Do we know?
Well.
I mean, Cam Ward got Warren Moon's number. Warren Moon
Warren
just
Moon
gave
it to him, though.
Yeah.
That's a different story. Gave it to him.
You're
LT's
saying,
not
I
giving it
mean?
to him.
Do we know if he meant number like, hey, what's Lawrence Taylor's number? I'd like to talk to him.
Well, they did talk afterward. They have spoken. For those of you who do not know, I think this happened. Did this happen on Micah Parsons' podcast? Abdul Carter said he wanted 56. Lawrence Taylor talked to him, and this is the quote from Lawrence Taylor after telling him no. Quote, I'm hoping he's not thinking, oh, I got shot down by LT. I'm the guy that is right behind you. I'm going to be 2 steps behind you and make sure you don't fall. And that's simply bullshit. He's not going to be 2 steps behind him.
What does that mean, by the way?
No, it's just I said no to him, and I couldn't just say no to him, bleep you, that's my number. No one will ever wear it again because it's disrespectful, kid, for you to think you could wear it. That's not what he said. He said, I'm always going to be behind him, 2 steps behind him. And if you're 2 steps behind him, he's going to fall on his back. And when he falls on his back, the uniform he's wearing is not going to be number 56. You're not going to catch him, and you don't want him wearing your number.
Exactly. 2 steps behind means when he falls, you can't catch him, but you can go like, oh, no. You can do the fake hustle of, oh, almost.
Right. That's the play right there.
But he says, I'm hoping he's not thinking, oh, I got shot down by LT. He needs to be thinking that. That's exactly what happened.
Motivation.
That's the only reason you're not getting his number is because you got shot down by LT.
Well, typically there's a money exchange here. Did Carter offer him money?
No, it's only a money exchange. Usually it's only a money exchange if the player in the locker room already has the number. Usually it's not a retired number. I'm honestly...
$1 million for that LT jersey, by the way?
Is there... the number 12 is associated with quarterbacks. I'm not good with uniform numbers, but 56 to me, I can make the argument it's the most famous number in the sport, is it not? Like I can make that argument based on I don't know another defender's number that resonates the way that one does.
That blue 56, man, that's timeless. That's timeless. You have to pick another jersey. Maybe Manning.
18? It's TB12, right?
Yeah,
like he made the entire
TB12,
method out of it.
Yeah, but
The
a lot
number's
of
12.
quarterbacks wore 12. See, 56 I just associate with one player ever. And I don't do that. Go ahead. Forgive me because I'm telling you, I'm bad at uniform numbers. But can you guys give me the second most famous number 56, not just in football, anywhere in sports?
13. Well, anywhere in sports, 99.
No. Number 56 as a number, I only associate it with one player ever.
Dan, I've got another famous NFL number. I can only think of one guy. I won't even tell you who the guy is. I'll just tell you the number. 7.
Elway.
Oh, wow.
Elway?
2 Americas. Mike Vick. I was like, clearly Mike Vick. What are you talking about?
All
Elway.
right, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Number 7, Elway or Mike Vick. The reason I'm saying 56 stands out is there are a lot of 12s. We can do Tom Brady on 12, but there are a lot of 12s. It's a famous quarterback number.
This is an interesting discussion because technically I don't think Lawrence Taylor makes that decision. I think the Giants retired that number. Like the Giants would have to give permission.
I'd argue that if LT gave permission, then the Giants would be okay with it too. It could be his number to retire. Maybe not. Maybe I've got that wrong.
I wouldn't have given it if I were LT. I think he's justified to. You know what I would have said? I would have said Abdul Carter, have 50 sacks in your first 5 seasons and make 4 Pro Bowls, and then we'll talk.
That's what the phone call would have gone like.
Mm-hmm.
You
earn it. You know, you got to want to earn. You got to want to learn. I mean,
Mickey Loomis.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan, I've got some 56s for you.
But off the top of your head, can any of you do the second most famous number 56 in the history of sports, all sports?
I'm going NFL only here. Can I interest you in Keith Brooking?
God.
No?
No.
Can you guys play this game with me, though? Just if I say to you, you have to nominate from your library of remembered numbers what you believe to be the most famous number in sports. And when you say 99, it's because the 99 it's not just the greatness of Gretzky. It's also the 99 stands out more than the 56 does. It's just a number that's meant to stand out.
Number 23 from North Carolina. It's the only number that has a soundtrack with it.
Is there a second place number 23 that rivals Keith Brooking there as the gulf between the first 56 and the second 56? Who's the second 23?
LeBron James.
LeBron Raymond James.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Which is a good transition to talking about yesterday's basketball, because there is a lot of yesterday's basketball that I wanted to talk about. A lot of people are making a big deal about J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick sitting everybody on his bench and playing his starters the entire second half, which is not something that has happened since 2013. And a lot of people are pointing out there's a lot to talk about from yesterday's games. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the officiating. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the Lakers on the brink or not. But the part I thought was unfair, Amin, is so many people are talking about J.J. Redick playing only his starters the entire second half, as if the Lakers weren't up late, as if LeBron didn't block a shot with 90 seconds left that would indicate he doesn't seem terribly tired. LeBron didn't do anything in the fourth quarter, and it would make sense that the oldest player in the league would be tired, but they had the lead. And they had the lead. DiVincenzo was great at the rim, and then LeBron blocked him at the rim. So you tell me, how fair is the criticism that you're playing your starters in a way that we haven't seen in a playoff game in 10 years?
First of all, it wasn't the starters, because Jackson Hayes started, subbed out at the
4 minutes.
After 4 minutes, and never came back in, like Judy from Family Matters. Went upstairs, never came back downstairs. Right? It's absolutely a fair criticism to ask 5 guys to play 24 consecutive minutes, right, without any sort of a breather, without any sort of a break, and also one of them is 40 years old. It's unconscionable.
It's okay to do to Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards?
They're young. They're young. You can do it with them. You can't do it, especially with the lack of depth that the Lakers have. And that's part of the chess match. Sure, we'd all love to play with injuries off and fatigue off and just play my best 5 players and keep going like it's a video game. But that's not the job, right? Steve Kerr finds a way to play Guy Santos. Everyone, you've got to find your Guy Santos. Is like, this guy shouldn't play on paper. Yeah, I'm not going to trust him in a playoff game. But I've done enough throughout the year to develop him and to give him the confidence that when the time comes where I need to I'm stealing minutes for Curry, for Jimmy Butler, whoever, right? It's the same thing here, perhaps even more so because LeBron is 40 years old. You've got to find minutes. And the thing that I didn't like, this is what he said, but JJ was asked about it. He said, well, I asked the guys at the start of the fourth how they felt, and they all said they felt good. So I had to trust them. And I'm like, of course they're going to say that. Who's going to raise their hands and say, Coach, I'm tired? No one's going to do that. So you have to be the bad guy and say, I got to steal it for you. I got to find – it's a lot of times what guys will do, end of the third, beginning of the fourth, and then we get like that quarter break in there. We extend that rest. But you went full 12 in the third and full 12 in the fourth. Of course it's going to happen that way. And if you look at the series, the Wolves have outscored the Lakers in the fourth quarter by a lot, and a lot of that has to do because the Lakers are running out of gas, which, by the way, I said when the Luka Doncic trade happened, I said, this is an awesome trade. LA, congratulations. This year, just use it as a kind of like playing around thing. Next year, you guys are going to be awesome when you can fix this team around him and fit his skills. And everyone's like, oh, no, the Lakers are going to go out right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? They have no bigs. They have zero depth. You think you can just waltz? I get it. Luka's great. LeBron's great. You think you can just waltz out there in a playoff scenario and their greatness is just going to erase every other advantage? But here we are.
They played Friday night. And then played again that soon afterward and put 19 points up in the fourth quarter, and LeBron had 0 points. What do you say to my point, though, Amin, that with 90 seconds left in that game, not only were you still leading, you also got a challenge. You got 2 timeouts. You had a bunch of stoppages in play, and the Lakers got overturned on an above camera angle. Like, I could say they were gassed, and it's the reason they gave up the lead in the fourth quarter. But at the end, you're still telling me that in winning time, the Timberwolves have more energy than the Lakers do as LeBron blocks the shot. And if they don't go to the overturn there, the Lakers are going to have the lead with 12 seconds left.
Dan, what you just basically told me is I could go do cartwheels in the middle of Biscayne Boulevard and not get hit by a car. Ipso facto, I'm awesome at doing cartwheels across Biscayne Boulevard. No, it means that time it worked. So had they won that game because they were up, you could be like, oh, well, see, there was nothing wrong. But the process is faulty. We know the process is faulty. The result is the result.
I think the bench is faulty. That's more than the process.
That's what we're saying. The process is because of the bench. And because they don't have the depth, he felt the need to do this. But then even when you're going to do this, even when you don't have the depth, you have to find a way to cheat some minutes for them. Some rest here or there. Maybe LeBron's out there and Luka's out. Maybe Luka's in and LeBron is out. Maybe they're both, like, whatever it is, you have to find someone on that bench you can look at, that maybe like someone like Gabe Vincent. Just give him a couple of minutes in there, because otherwise what you're doing is you're putting an immense pressure of perfection on them.
Some of this is obviously playing the result. I think if the Lakers win, J.J. Redick is a little bit of an avant-garde guy who made a bold decision. But Anthony Edwards said the Lakers were gassed in the fourth quarter. I believe that. I mean, if he's saying it, I believe it. And I don't see Redick living this down for the rest of this series if they lose.
Anthony Chickalo, number 56.
Chick.
The Bucks have lost 8 of the last 9 games that Giannis has played in. And Giannis in those 9 games is averaging 30, 14, and 5. Damian Lillard goes out early yesterday. I don't know how many people are paying attention to that Pacers-Bucks series, but it would appear that the Bucks are 1 loss away from Giannis being out of there. And good God, does Brook Lopez and the rest of that team look thin when Chris Middleton isn't out there and Drew Holiday isn't out there. And it really does feel like Giannis is out there by himself and has no answers for what it is that the Pacers are doing. But the Pistons-Knicks game, I thought, was the one from yesterday. The Clippers-Nuggets ending was tremendous. But the no-foul call and the officiating in general at the end of a couple of these games that are close makes it so that we can argue about a bunch of different things that don't give the Knicks the proper credit for how they won that game yesterday. It's not just Brunson being injured and then dominating the fourth quarter. It's Karl Anthony Towns hitting just ridiculous threes. Like, he was so far from the basket on one of those that I'd argue that's a bad shot. And there were 2 bad shots, I thought, that won enormous games over the weekend. I know Jokic has made that shot a couple of times over Anthony Davis. It's a terrible shot. Like that. And the fact that they got a backdoor alley-oop at the buzzer because they were defending so ferociously against, don't let Jokic do that. The step back, he's going to fall out of bounds and throw it in from behind his neck. It's going to be Jamal Wilkes jump shot. It's not even going to be a normal jump shot. He's going to go well behind his head in a place that makes it the sky hook in terms of being unblockable. But it's a ridiculous, asinine shot. I mean, Aaron Gordon dunking that at the rim. How the bleep does that happen?
2010 Western Conference Finals, Game 5, Los Angeles Lakers versus Phoenix Suns. Suns make a huge comeback, capped by a Jason Richardson bank shot 3. We've got all the momentum. They call timeout. We know where it's going. There are no illusions who's going to get the ball, and there are no illusions as to what he's going to do when he gets the ball. Kobe Bryant catches it on the right sideline. We aggressively trap the shit out of him, so aggressively that he airballs the shot. If he had hit the rim, if he had hit the side of the backboard, that ball goes outside. Overtime, we probably win the game, right? Instead, it's an air ball. Who's waiting right under the rim? Ron Artest catches it, lays it up, game over. That's how it happens. Sometimes, and that's, you want to know the word gravity in basketball? That's gravity. The gravity, the respect level is so high that we're going to sell out completely on everything in order to make sure that you don't beat us. But in that process, you then neglect someone who's just lurking around. And so Aaron Gordon, and I was talking to my kid about this, a lot of people can say, oh, Aaron Gordon, because he's 6'9", and he's got like a 40-inch vertical. Like, yeah, but that's not what made him. He was right place, right time because he anticipated. He visualized. He said, if this ball comes short, I'm going to be ready. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's what veteran play is. That's what championship-winning basketball is the guys who are thinking the game before it happens, not trying to react after it happens.
Can you guys remember off the top of your head a playoff game decided on a buzzer-beating dunk?
Rockets versus Lakers, 1983, I want to say 82, 83.
That's a recall right there. Wow.
Can I ask?
I haven't seen it very often.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because I'm actually confused about the rules. So when does the ball going in count? Is it when it goes through the hoop or when it leaves his fingers?
You got to let go of it,
because
right?
if he's holding onto it and it goes through the hoop, is that a shot?
If the ball has crossed into the hoop,
even if his fingers are still on it,
doesn't matter if his hand is on it. It's that it has entered the hoop, right?
Any portion of it, not it has to go through. Just any portion.
I think most of it has to be in there.
Because I saw the replay and I was super confused. I'm like, well, if his finger's still on it, but it's gone through the hoop,
it's gone through. That's why it counts. Now, if he had been above the rim, no. But because the ball had entered the hoop, it doesn't matter if he's like in an exaggerated fashion. Imagine if you put his whole arm and elbow in there. And
he did like a dunk contest. He's hanging from the rim and he's still palming it, which would be super sick.
Yeah.
But it went through. That still counts.
That still counts,
right.
yes.
You guys, how do you feel about a game ending in a dramatic fashion and the last punctuation that you get as a customer and sports fan is just some guy in a striped jersey saying, the game is over? The game is now over because nobody knew at the end whether the game was over or not. And a lot of people found out, a lot of people were doing the examination of, hey, wait a minute. Is it again? It's so absurd to have a game end with a buzzer-beating dunk that a lot of people are asking the same question of, does the ball actually have to be out of your hand or just does it have to go through the entirety of the rim?
Dan, you know what my favorite thing is? I went to game 3, the one that the Clippers won. And that building is so phenomenal as far as the atmosphere. I've been there earlier this year, and I was like, this is terrible. Like, it's a beautiful building, but the crowd wasn't anywhere near good. Game 3, the crowd was insane. And so I kind of regret that I wasn't there for Game 4 because I want to know what that reaction was from everybody just milling around.
It's just milling about. Your game can't end with people just milling about. That it's the antithesis of sports entertainment to have someone like Aaron. Think about what we're watching. Man, Jokic, I've never seen anything like that. And Aaron Gordon, that's all I've seen him do his entire career is he jumps up there and dunks. Now let's mill about and wait for someone to tell us that the game is over.
Hands in your pockets.
Joe Posnanski next. What are we asking Juju's opinion on? I would defer to him on style matters here. I don't know that he would think that many of us have any style.
He can start with Tony's outfit from yesterday.
Nah, I'm gonna start with what Dan just said. Yeah, you're exactly correct, big brother. Now one of y'all got no style. I seen the video that Jessica Smetana put up yesterday. Zero sauce from everybody in the video except Jessica. She rated herself a 7. I think he was in the 11 at least.
An 11?
My boy Tony, he had a Budweiser.
He was a disaster.
Well, Tony, let's get this out.
At least they took a picture of him. At least he was invited to the.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that.
No, Juju.
10 Americas.
Juju.
10 Americas.
Juju. I asked where you were yesterday.
10.
I didn't understand.
My flight got booked the hour y'all got finished with that mother. I mean,
Wow.
Juju.
Good catch.
All right,
Good catch.
Juju.
Good catch.
That's a scheduling problem. That is not personal.
Y'all ain't no scheduling problem when y'all need posts.
Yeah.
When I need to post it, get posted. Ain't no scheduling problem then. The scheduling problem, get me out the picture. Salute to everybody. I love everybody. I love the picture, man.
Right.
Whatever.
I love you too, man.
Okay.
I love you too, Juju.
I don't love the picture, man. You was okay.
He was just.
Man, it's good. I thought it was good.
Juju, I appreciate your grievances. I am sorry. You should have been a part of the team photo. That it was an error.
Am I on the team or not, Dan?
You are on the team, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well.
Get the guy back. Get him back.
Juju, if it makes you feel any better, I'll tell you a story that I've never shared.
No, thank you. Am I on the team or not?
Yes, you were on the team.
Okay.
And you know you're on the team, and this was an error in scheduling. So Tony, though, deserves your wrath, Juju, because
Stop
Juju.
Tony.
Look,
Stop that, Dan.
my first week here when I was hired to officially work on the show as no longer an intern, the third day was picture day. And no one told me. And I
Exactly.
just sat across the hall in the sad, what it was called, the bullpen at the time.
Bullpen, yes.
It was basically like a punishment room, and I was just there, like, doing, like, editing things while everybody was having a grand old time taking pictures across the hall, and it stuck with me for damn near 12 years now. So I'm not glad this happened to you, but I just want to let you know, at least you weren't here to watch everyone else have fun, because it's been eating
Juju,
at me.
I had an ulterior motive beyond asking why it is you weren't here for picture day. I wanted you to help me talk about WNBA championship because I didn't have any qualified people in here, myself included, to talk about it. I wanted to talk to you about it, and you were not here for that. So I was expecting you. Our apologies for failing you, but
y'all
still.
book my ticket here. Y'all book my ticket here,
Focus
not me.
on the prize.
Prize.
Tony was in picture day wearing shorts, embarrassed and vulnerable, when he prides himself as having more style than anyone else around here.
Let me explain to what happened, okay? So there's a
Can't wait to hear this.
no it's
You showed up at
No,
work in your normal
there is
work
literally
outfit.
exactly. So here's the thing. My Slack stopped working at about 8 o'clock.
Oh, stop it.
You could have used a pair of slacks, to be honest.
I don't wear slacks, by the way. No, I haven't worn a slack in a long time.
He does.
This episode is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
He's one of the best sports writers there's ever been. He's got 8 books, 40 years, damn near, writing sports. He's the co-host with Mike Schur of the Poscast. His Joe Blogs newsletter is terrific. You could subscribe at joeposnanski.com. He also correctly predicted Shedeur to the Browns. And he did this just knowing that the Browns were going to Brown. And I thank you, Joe. Where does this rank in terms of your greatest predictions? You're taking a victory lap today. I'm very happy for you. You correctly predicted the unthinkable. How did you do that?
Purely by knowing who the Cleveland Browns are, right? Like there's no knowledge involved. There was no draft, insider stuff involved. It's just, it's perfect. It's for like the Browns come into the draft desperately needing a quarterback. They make it very, very clear that they do not want Shedeur. They take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. That nobody thought he was going to go anywhere near that high. Made it perfectly clear. I woke up Saturday morning and I'm like, guaranteed the Browns are going to take Shedeur today. And like, there's never was even the slightest doubt in my mind.
Billy and I are having an argument about this. This doesn't make sense that you would say there's not the slightest doubt in your mind. He is saying this is a good job for Shedeur, and I'm arguing it's the Browns. There are no good jobs that the Browns have. Your argument is what?
I think the argument is that I'm with you. There are no good jobs with the Browns. I mean, it's like the Hunger Games, for this year, right? They're going to have a quarterback they can't cut. They're going to have Joe Flacco. They're going to have Kenny Pickett. They're going to have Gabriel Dillon.
Gabriel, yes. That's all right.
We got there.
We got there. Although, yes, Dillon Gabriel Dillon, two first names either way.
Whatever. Who is obviously the guy they wanted. I mean, he's the guy that the coach likes. And then they've got Shedeur. I mean, it's going to be an absolute mess. HBO should absolutely hard knocks this team. I mean, this is going to be a complete fiasco. From here on in, it's going to just be complete nuts. But of course, that's what it always is in Cleveland.
Joe, if I were doing the devil's advocate thing, I would say getting Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round with the 144th pick is a steal, and Browns fans should be absolutely thrilled. Why don't you think so?
Well, you might be right. I'm not saying that. The funny thing is that my prediction had nothing to do with whether or not Shedeur can play. I mean, I think obviously the arguments are there. It's just perfect Browns, right? Like the Browns could have taken him in the 3rd round. That would have been just as much of a steal because from what everything was going in, they wouldn't have had to trade up. They traded 2 picks up to get him. None of it makes sense. And it's just the fiasco that is this organization, right? I think that nobody agrees with anybody. This feels very much to me like a Jimmy Haslam pick. I'm sure he saw President Trump's tweet. I'm sure he just freaked out, said we got to get him now, and doesn't let the organization run the way they want to run. So it could end up being absolutely the right choice. I mean, I don't have any idea if he's even going to make the team, right? Because I mean, they've got 5 quarterbacks now and one they cannot cut. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but here's the thing. If it works out, it only works out by luck because if they really thought Shedeur Sanders could play, they would have taken him before Saturday.
Joe, are you someone that just assumes that your team is going to ruin any chance for a star? Because I'm like that with my teams also. I have the Dolphins. I have the Marlins. I have a number of teams that I know. You know what? Aaron Judge would not have been Aaron Judge if he was on the Marlins. You could name anyone. They would not have turned out who they are on the Dolphins. Because if you look at it, Shedeur, if the Browns take him at number 2, people are excited. The fact that he falls to the 5th round and now you have all these quarterbacks that you have to compete against, it's like, okay, well, now what do we do, right? But he's probably the most, if not the second most talented one on the roster that's actually going to play. Because Deshaun Watson is never going to play again, the way that they've spoken about Deshaun Watson. So he's on the roster, but he's not going to play. So Shedeur has a shot. He has Kevin Stefanski. You drafted 2 running backs at tight end. You also got him basically on a Brock Purdy deal for this. So for someone that people thought could be the 2nd pick in the draft. So it's there, but the reason it wouldn't work is just because it's the Browns, right?
100% right. No, that couldn't be more right. I mean, yeah, if at the end of the day it works out, if Shedeur can really play, if he obviously beats out the guy that the coaches obviously wanted more than him, if he can play and lead this team, yeah, they're going to look back and say, yeah, the whole thing was completely planned. But as a fan, it's not going to work out. It never does. At no point has anything worked out for the Browns, and in my entire life, and certainly not since they came back. And so I think, yes, I have played this game. I'm sure you have too. I mean, every fan does. What happens if the Browns take Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady is working as a in some like a Starbucks or something. Like nothing good would ever happen.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. If the Browns had drafted Tom Brady, would he have immediately gone to work at Starbucks?
It would have been a Browns-Dolphins thing where he's good somewhere else. Like you draft Shedeur Sanders, he's there, you cut him, then he goes to Green Bay or something, and then he's just great over there.
Yeah.
I want to read to you guys what it is that Joe Posnanski wrote here, because this is an unusual thing to get right when nobody else had this right, okay?
It's an exacto.
How many exactos did you have, by the way?
Had 9.
Is
Which
that
is good?
Is that good?
That's good.
Good job, Greg.
But Kiper had 12.
Okay,
Damn
so
him.
Kiper beat you?
Yeah. Edged me.
Hey, yo.
Instead of reading this, I'm just going to ask you: do you have this defeatist attitude about anything else in your life? Do the Browns do something to you that nothing else in any walk of life create? Because you're an optimistic person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've known each other for a long time. I am an optimistic person about every single thing except for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, really Cleveland sports in general has done this to me, but the Browns particularly and specifically, I always believe that whatever is the worst case scenario, that's what's going to happen with the Browns. And, it didn't have to be that way, but when I was very young, the Browns proved that was the future when Brian Sipe threw the interception against the Raiders when I was 13 years old. And that's it. And it's been that way ever since. So, yeah, my full defeatist attitude comes out every time with the Browns.
Well, let me read now from this. When the Browns take a quarterback nobody had going in the third round over Shedeur Sanders, they are emphatically saying, we don't want Shedeur Sanders. And that's why I'm convinced they will take him today. It's the perfect Brown setup. As Bill James wrote me this morning, look at me, the Browns love quarterback stories. That seems to be their one and only scouting technique. This is a team that over the last decade plus has acquired Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Johnny Football, RG3, Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, and most infamously, he who shall not be named. They don't draft quarterbacks. They draft headlines. A Browns camp with HWSNBN, that's he who shall not be named, Joe Flacco, and poor Dylan Gabriel would be precisely the sort of mess that this team cannot resist. I know nothing about the NFL draft at all, but I'm making the call now. The Browns curse, put it in sports context for me, please. All the other curses that you've known and lived.
I mean, I am obviously it's personal to me, but I think it's the worst. I think it is the single worst curse. I mean, there are two teams, obviously, the Browns and Lions are the only two teams that have not been to a Super Bowl. But the Lions, first of all, they're good now, and second of all, it just hasn't been this wreck throughout. I mean, the Lions never moved in the middle of just left town for 4 years. They've never had, they both have had 0-16 seasons, but the Browns had a 1-15 season the year before, and they kept the coach. They actually had a coach who went 1-31, and they were like, "Yeah, let's bring him back. That guy's doing a great job." I mean, this organization is something else, and I think it's number one. I mean, I think it is the number one. I think they're the biggest fiasco in sports right now, but I also think it is the number one curse because it goes all the way back to before I was born.
I'm going to give you the choice of one of two things in baseball to talk about. The Giants having a T-ball home run on a baseball that never left a walk-off T-ball home run on a ball that didn't even leave the infield, or Eugenio Suarez hitting 4 home runs in a game.
Yeah, I'll go with Suarez because I love that story. You know what I love most about that? That is, me and how I just love goofy baseball things. That list of the players who have hit 4 home runs in a game, there are 19 of them that have done it. That list is so wonderful because it has Willie Mays on it and Lou Gehrig on it, and it also has Scooter Gennett on it and hard hitting Mark Whitten and now Suarez. It's just a beautiful list that for one day anybody can be like a legend in the game. And so I love that so much. And I love that he did it because also he is, I think, pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say underrated. I think baseball fans know what he's about, but that guy might hit 500 home runs in his career. I mean, he's got close to 300 now and he's 33 years old. I mean, it's a long shot, but he might hit 500 home runs in his career and people outside of baseball probably have never heard of him. I mean, so I love that he had this moment, but I love that he added to this wonderful list of 4 home run hitters.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Can you be truly considered great at sports if your name is Eugene? at Le Batard
Eugenio.
Show. I know it's Eugenio, but it's not better.
It's better. Eugenio's better.
You know what? It is better. I will grant you that Eugenio is better than Eugene.
Like my grandfather's
but
name.
but it's not very much better. Is Mark Whitten the last one to do it, Joe? Is Mark Whitten the last one to hit 4 home runs in a game? That's like the only name I associate with it because it's the only one I can remember outside of Eugenio this weekend.
No, J.D. Martinez. Didn't he? J.D. Martinez hit a 4 home run game a few years ago. I think he might have been the last one before this.
Roy is asking if Mike Cameron did it. Did Mike Cameron do it?
Mike Cameron did do it. Yeah, that's right. Mike Cameron's a great one to add on that list. Josh Hamilton did it. That's a fun name from the past. I mean, it's a very cool list. I love the list.
Joe, good seeing you. Thank you. I will tell the people again, as good as sports writing gets, you should check out all the things that Joe Posnanski does, including his 8 books. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
I mean, I wanted to ask you a question based on something we were talking about last week that was just delightful, that was from a Reddit message board that Brad Williams asked the commissioner of football about, where he said, in short yardage situations, can you give the football to a little person and then just have someone throw him over the offensive line for a 5 or 6 yard gain? I saw that Kevin O'Connor was doing something with this in the NBA. Is there anything that keeps the 4 Golden State Warriors from locking arms in a circle around Steph and just allowing him to shoot jump shots that a defender cannot get near because
Wow.
Because I've asked this question too about whether we could put a sumo wrestler in hockey in the net and see if we could get some good results with a sumo wrestler in the net. Do you believe, Amin, that would be legal or successful to have Golden State Warriors lock arms in a circle around Steph Curry and allow him to take jump shots in key situations as a play? Like Steve Kerr calls it out of a timeout at the end of a game.
I love that our show always likes to think outside the box.
Yeah. Or inside the box.
Well,
Steph is inside the box there, so he's trying to shoot inside the box.
This time we're thinking inside the box.
Credit to Mike Leach also, who apparently was the one who allegedly came up with the plan to throw a little person over the line on a 3rd and short.
Is Mike Leach still with us?
No, he's not.
No, he passed on a couple
Gone but not forgotten.
R.I.P.
Dan, I think the issue would be at some point the screeners, the boxer-ins or whatever, they would be compelled to be moving. There's it's not that, hey, this part isn't hard. The part that's hard is when they're trying to make sure someone doesn't slip in between the cracks, and once you move, that's a moving screen.
You're taking the fun out of it. I think it would
Sorry.
work.
He's thinking outside the box.
I think it would work as a one-time. You can't use it a lot, but it would really be genius at the end of the game if there's nothing actually against the rules against it to see if you can make it happen. Because you'd also disorient the defense. They wouldn't be thinking, how do I sneak in under Draymond's arm?
Well, didn't Stan Van Gundy famously say, build the effing wall?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
There it is. Build the effing wall, baby.
But then if you do that, you got 4 guys wide open for a pass, right?
Greg, they're on offense.
All right, I'm going to have to let him go now because he got confused by everything that we were talking about. And
minor penalty, 2 minutes for a terrible question.
You're better off with the 500-pound guy in goal in the NHL. Put Jabba the Hutt in goal. Nobody gets that puck past.
It's true.
all right,
Now, you know what?
get out, please.
Hold on now. How hard is it to train a sumo wrestler to have balance? I feel like they already have balance.
That's right.
It has to be a knee thing, right?
Skates would be hard.
Yeah.
I think.
They're not skating around. They're just there.
Yeah, but you can't kneel, can you? I mean, Rory, you're the hockey guy. What are the rules?
Can you
Get out of
Get
here,
out!
please. How does he not know?
Can't even hear what he's saying.
Can't hear what you're saying, Greg. Just try to be a professional broadcaster for 6 seconds.
What are the rules, Roy? Can a goalie just kneel on the floor the entire time?
Yeah, they can be in the butterfly position to make a save. But this question offends me because these hockey players are so accurate with their shots, they can just pinpoint a corner and get it past the sumo wrestler.
Not on a sumo wrestler. Those weigh like 500 pounds.
And
dude.
also, let's not disrespect the fine tradition of sumo wrestling.
Thank you.
These guys are
Finally.
great athletes with great reaction times
Exactly.
of their own right. I think you could train one. I think you could get them out there. Here's the thing. Is there a rule that says I have to wear skates? Because if I'm the goalie, I don't really get outside that much, right?
Well, yes, you can go out and play the puck as a goaltender.
No, but let's assume, hey, I got a goaltender that I don't need him to play.
Yeah, exactly.
upfield or whatever, up ice.
Exactly.
Well, the goaltender can't cross center ice. That would be a penalty.
No, we know. Yeah.
Okay,
Amin knows. He knows.
I knew that.
He means going behind the.
Let's talk about something that Amin does know about, which is Pistons
Transition.
and Knicks last night. I just hate when he starts asking like baseball questions and hockey questions, and they're the most remedial
that's how you
of
learn,
questions.
though.
Hold on, Dan Le
He's trying to
Batard.
learn, Dan.
How do we educate if we are afraid of ourselves
Thank you.
admitting we don't know things? The childlike innocence and wonder, that's something that we should all preserve and encourage others to have.
And celebrate. I shared my vulnerabilities earlier when I said I don't know the rule about dunking at a buzzer beater. I don't know if it has to be off your hands or not.
Did I ridicule and belittle Mr. Gill? No. I uplifted him, and I gave him the information, and I said, thank you, Billy. Thank you for asking that question.
Imagine if Thomas Edison and, Henry Ford, Benjamin Franklin were met with such, critiques when they simply ask questions.
Ask a question like, hey, why is it so dark in here? And then everyone's like, oh, look at Edison. Oh, this dumbass wants to know why it's dark.
Isn't there a way we could bright up the darkness? No, Thomas, idiot.
And then he met a black guy who invented the light bulb and said, I like that idea.
Let me have that.
That's how it works, Dan. Childlike innocence and wonder.
He didn't ask, let me have that. He just took it. He
did nicely. It's a nice story, Dan. Please.
The end of the Pistons-Knicks games, and I'm sure Detroit is soothed by this, speaking of admitting when you got it wrong. The NBA has now said, well, yeah, the officials got that wrong at the end with Hardaway.
The official said I got it wrong.
David Guthrie was right there. He didn't have the guts to call it.
Didn't have the Guthries to call it.
That soothes no one, obviously, in Detroit. That's a huge swing in that series. New York is ready to doubt and fear because of its basketball team. And at the end of that game, Detroit gets one stolen from them, right? And I always prefer no calls in that situation. I prefer you let them play a lot more in the last 10 seconds than you do at any other time. But what do you do with the admission today that they got the call wrong when Detroit's going to have his season ended over this? And it's a really nice season, but it's exactly how Detroit's season should end when they're learning playoff basketball, where Cade Cunningham can't make one of those pressure shots down the end, and Brunson is making all of those shots because Brunson's been in that situation already a bunch of times.
It's exactly right, Dan. It's not about that last play. It's about, okay, did you guys value those possessions down the stretch? Did you do what it takes to win? Was everyone on the same page? And they weren't, and that's how you learn. You learn through these heartaches. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm surprised everyone thinks it's a foul. I'm like, this dude jumped with his leg all the way out. That ain't a natural shooting motion. Why is that a foul?
You didn't think it was a foul?
Nope. Nope.
The official's admitting it's a foul, and you're saying it's not a foul.
I'm saying that had they called that, we'd be way more outraged today.
No.
We'd be way more outraged. First of all, because there are 8 billion Knicks fans. Let's start there. But then second of all, it's because it's the way he was trying. He wasn't trying to make a shot.
You're a Knicks fan. You're a Knicks fan.
I'm not.
You're
impartial.
Yeah. What do you mean you're not a Knicks fan?
I'm not a Knicks fan. I haven't rooted for the Knicks in like 25 years. What are you talking about?
He's a fan of the league.
Greg, what are you doing? Why are you not in the penalty box? This isn't you get to sit out there
relaxing
with your thermos relaxing. Like what? Why are you not?
I thought it was a beer at
He's got
first.
a big grin, Dan.
He's talking. My favorite part is he's actually talking.
Yes, of
No
course he's
microphone.
talking. No microphone, and he's doing show. Probably better show out there than anything that he's doing in here.
Dan, can I ask you a question? Are you a fan of chicken?
Yes.
You are? Okay. I don't know, because, with Dan, you don't know, sometimes some of these things. Unseasoned chicken? I would take that sitting down, Dan Le Batard.
I'm waiting for you to ask the question that follows the question, do you like chicken, so I can get back to doing our show.
Oh, I am doing show, Dan.
Greg's doing his own show out there. You're asking me questions about chicken so you guys can laugh at the lack of flavor in my chicken. Where are you going with this?
So I did a thing for Pablo Torre Finds Out, and it was about the infatuation, first of all, the NBA with the free chicken giveaway. So a lot of NBA arenas, they'll do this thing that if the opponent misses 2 free throws in the fourth quarter, everybody in the building gets either a free chicken sandwich or chicken wings or something like that. But then in the process of me doing this investigation for Pablo Torre Finds Out, I discovered that there is one particular individual who is a god amongst men in terms of giving away chicken to opposing fans. Do we have the video queued up? Hit it. So you might be asking yourself, how much does Giannis Antetokounmpo love fast food chicken? And the only answer I can come up with is, as much as any human being has ever loved anything. So you might be asking yourself, how much does Giannis Antetokounmpo love fast food chicken? And the only answer I can come up with is, as much as any human being has ever loved anything in the history of mankind.
Are we getting free Chick-fil-A for life now? I want free Chick-fil-A for life. It's no way. That's why I signed in Milwaukee, so I can get free Chick-fil-A for life.
So there's all of these documented instances of Giannis professing his love for chicken. Like, there's a time he showed up to a press conference with a bucket of chicken wings. There's a time where he tweeted about Roscoe's and how much he loves Roscoe's and wishes they would open one in Milwaukee. Oh, right. There's the trip to China where he goes and he professes love for chicken feet.
China chicken feet. I love chicken feet. You love chicken feet? I love chicken feet. Okay.
I now am remembering how Giannis, won All-Star MVP and decided to celebrate in the way that you are alluding to.
So what's it feel like to finally win this thing?
Winner, chicken dinner.
And yet, none of this has to do with the promo that we're talking about, Amit. So this is his love of chicken in general, but what about how he's interacted with the incentives that we're dissecting?
Okay, so here's a video of him at a Milwaukee Bucks game where there's a chicken giveaway, while the opposing team is in a chicken scenario.
Speaking of wings, everybody gets wings. Free wings from Wingstop.
Redeemed. Look at Giannis, he's scanning it.
He's capturing the moment.
He's getting the...
he wants to get the QR code to get his free wings.
He's on the bench, obviously. It's the end of the game, and he pulls a phone out to scan the QR code for the free chicken giveaway that they're giving to the fans. He's so enthusiastic about chicken and about the promo, he wants in on it like everyone else in the arena.
It's such ridiculous video that I'm overlooking the fact that Giannis just had a cell phone on the bench, by the way.
You never know. You never know when a QR code might pop up, Pablo. So Dan, the premise of the investigation, that is an oddball investigation for Pablo Torre Finds Out, is that Giannis Antetokounmpo, very huge fan of chicken, as we've seen through that little montage video.
We've established that.
Yeah. He, when it comes to missing free throws that end up giving free chicken to the crowd, he is the greatest among them all. And there was a question as to whether this could actually be intentional, because we actually went through and did the analytics, the heavy crunching of numbers, including, by the way, creating the analytics to measure such an event. Do we have that video ready?
Chicken eligibility. I'm trying to run through the research here that you've assembled for a term that you dropped on our audience as if anybody would know what the you're talking about.
Yes. What I've found, Pablo, is when you are investigating ground that has not been sullied by human feet, right? You have to create metrics to measure the things that no one even considered. And so we came up with this term, chicken eligible shots. If the opposing player makes the first free throw, guess what? We don't care what happens on that second free throw shot, right? So the only way we can figure out if you're handing out chicken as an opposing player is if you are converting chicken eligible shots. So that's the second missed free throw after you missed the first one.
Right. You've created a helpful graphic here. Chicken eligible, parentheses CE. Any free throw where a miss on that individual shot would result in the activation of a chicken-based promo.
Yes, precisely. We have another term we need you to understand.
Why?
Because metrics. We have to build metrics off of this. It's not enough to say, hey, how many chicken eligible shots did he take?
Oh, sorry. You're moving us from counting stats now to
efficiency, which is the key to any good metric, is we want to know how efficient you are.
Again, of course. Of course, I must agree with this.
And here's the graphic. The chicken conversion rate, which is your chicken eligible misses divided by your chicken eligible attempts. In essence, this number gives you the efficiency you have at providing chicken to 20,000 people.
So just to over-explain this, CCR is the rate at which a player will miss a free throw with chicken on the line.
Yes.
And so Giannis Antetokounmpo, when it comes to his conversion rate when he's chicken eligible, is what?
So his CCR over the last 2 years, 80%. 80% of the time, he's got an opportunity to get you chicken. He comes home with it.
8 out of 10 times, Giannis is converting free chicken for the crowd.
Yeah, he's shooting 20%. Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
It's awful.
Yeah, but he's also a bad free throw shooter, though.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, look, he's not great at shooting free throws, right? Overall in his career, he's in the 60% spot. But the only time we have a drop is when he's shooting free throws versus when he's shooting free throws with chicken on the line. And then that drop goes from 64% all the way down to 20%. Pablo, that is the difference. That delta that we have there is the equivalent of Steph Curry shooting a free throw versus Shaquille O'Neal.
You're making an official accusation that he shoots 64% on free throws in the fourth quarter and that it goes down to 20% when it's chicken. That's not a coincidence.
When the chicken's on the line, yes. I'm not making an accusation, Dan. I'm asking questions because it is an investigation. I will go on to say that you should watch the entire episode to discover our findings, including Pablo took it a step further and he went and talked to the closest source to Giannis Antetokounmpo known to man, Thanasis.
I feel like we've already covered it. We don't need to have Pablo Torre finds out cover it. Like I feel like we just saw it right now.
No, you don't know what the findings are, and you don't know what Thanasis had to say about it, and that's the important part, Dan.
Okay.
If you go on Pablo Torres finds out, but you're the one finding out.
Well, he says he's not finding out. He says he's just asking questions. I thought an investigation didn't just ask questions. I thought an investigation came up with answers.
Well, it does come up with answers. The answers, unfortunately, are in the episode that you're going to have to watch.
Pablo Torre finds out, the award-winning podcast that takes journalists and others, including the Oddball crew, and investigates things that ask questions.
Whoa. I don't like the way you frame that one. It takes journalists and others, like this clown over here.
Are you a journalist?
I am now. Hey, Dan, let me ask you a question. How many Peabodys do you have?
Whoa!
Might be 1-0 for Old Amin over here.
Yep. You have a Peabody?
I'm about to win one.
Really?
Pablo Torre finds out. It's nominated. You guys didn't hear?
Yeah, but it's nominated for a different episode.
No, that's not true.
Not this episode.
It's not. No, this episode is for next year's Peabodys. This year's Peabody is for the one where I stayed at the haunted hotel in Oklahoma City.
Wow. Two-time Peabody winner.
Let me play some sound here for a group of journalists about a show that actually does investigations that produce answers. I don't know if you guys saw this happen with 60 Minutes, and I know that our war against the media in this country is so strong that even an establishment like 60 Minutes that has done groundbreaking, important, and award-winning journalism for longer than just about any television show that there has ever been, when the last minute of 60 Minutes ends with what I'm about to play for you, you should be a little bit concerned about everything that's happening with this country around the media, and more importantly, with the power and money that resides above media that controls media in a way that makes it very difficult to separate the business of media from the objectives of media. So look at what it is that 60 Minutes ended with here, because I found it to be a little bit debilitating as I continue to see people all over America who have FU money and never say FU because, like the Cleveland Browns or anyone else who was scared by Trump yesterday, there are a whole lot of people running scared when you're arresting judges over immigration stuff.
In tonight's Last Minute, a note on Bill Owens, who until this past week was executive producer of 60 Minutes. He was our boss. Bill was with CBS News nearly 40 years, 26 years at 60 Minutes. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us, but he did it for us and you. Stories we pursued for 57 years are often controversial. Lately, the Israel-Gaza war and the Trump administration. Bill made sure they were accurate and fair. He was tough that way. But our parent company, Paramount, is trying to complete a merger. The Trump administration must approve it. Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways. None of our stories has been blocked, but Bill felt he lost the independence that honest journalism requires. No one here is happy about it, but in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along.
Brutal, Greg.
Wow. That's I'm surprised Paramount let that on. Right? I mean, that was pretty damning.
I always admire the John Olivers and the David Lettermans and the people who take out their employers on their employer's time and their employer's dime. But seeing that show shout, hey, we're under duress here because the money is in charge, reminds me of what happened to Jon Stewart in leaving Apple. And I've never heard him talk about it because he was doing stuff on Apple that was dangerous and honest and good. And Apple, with all the money in the world, said, no, thank you, Jon Stewart. Whatever your talent is, we'd prefer to go another route. I just think the more and more of this that happens, I am a combination of both grateful and afraid about what we do around here with the independence of these microphones, because they're getting less and less independent as people in power and people with money run away from someone who they feel like has more power and money and is more shameless about wrecking some very basic things about democracy that he doesn't respect as he tries to turn the world into his personal bank.
Yeah, when you have the President of the United States undermining journalism and propagating the phrase fake journalism and fake news.
And being rewarded for it by a constituency and an America that is at least partially aligned with hating the media that way. Yes. Hating the media more than it loves democracy, evidently, in the behavior.
That seems to be the case. But when you have billionaires buying the Washington Post and stuff like that, it undermines the whole concept because the money talks. The money's going to make a profit over journalistic integrity every time.
So CBS Sunday Morning, I've told you this is a wonderful show for old people on Sundays. The demo has to be over 70 years old.
I watch it.
They do good television consistently, and yesterday they did the Bill Belichick interview that no one else has done, and it was super awkward. And his girlfriend Jordan was in the shadows. And when Bill Belichick was asked, how did you two meet? You hear shouted off camera, we're not going to answer that, because she was, they showed her as being a presence in everything that he was doing during the interview and that is front facing. Pablo Torre finds out on its way to a Peabody nomination, did some reporting and has reported that Jordan, his 24 or 25-year-old girlfriend, is acting basically as his manager and publicist and is handling things that he's probably too old to handle, right? If you're 72 years old, aren't we assuming that most people like Belichick or like Cody, that they can't do much of anything for themselves technologically, that they are giant technological toddlers?
Absolutely. I'm surprised you can use your phone, Greg.
Thank you. Thanks, Roy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm a Luddite. What of it?
That kind of thing.
Exactly, that kind of thing. She's also behind, Jordan is, she's also behind Belichick's suing for trademark rights to a couple of the phrases that he made popular while with New England. So, or reportedly, she's behind that effort. So,
is Bill Belichick okay? Like, are we certain he's not being held captive or like against his will?
Doing great.
Like, I don't know.
He's doing amazing.
Do you think he picked out the sweatshirt that he was wearing that had the holes in it? Because like that's right on the line of fashion and just slob, right? It's a thin line, fashion and slob, right? I mean, he's always kind of teetered that line, but I can't decide if that outfit was picked out for him or not.
I don't think he picks out anything anymore.
Which,
by the way, if all you wanted to do was coach football, all these other decisions get in the way. What should I wear? What do we eat? What do I post on Instagram? Now you found this wonderful human being who takes care of all of those things. This is the best thing ever.
You might be right. Like, this might be his dream, right? He doesn't have to do anything but think about football. even in the interview, right, where we're like, this is not a typical interview. For Bill, like, Bill doesn't really do that many interviews, right? Like, how many times do we see him get interviewed? So he's completely out of his element. So for him, that probably was like a normal interview.
CBS Sunday Morning is his element. That demo is 73 years old. He's 73, and that demo is 73. It is magical television, but it's also much slower than average television. They go at their leisurely Sunday morning pace. I was surprised to see him on there, and I was also surprised to see all of this framing. Like that. All of that seems to me to be not the look a college coach or leader would normally want around his program. The doing of an interview where they're showing you all of the wires and behind the scenes in a way that I don't know if Jordan and Bill would feel betrayed by that, but I could see how they would be. I could see how they would not like the off-camera stuff ending up on camera because of whatever salacious content is around. Everybody's curious. Everybody in sports is curious about what's happening in that relationship.
As a journalist, and I don't want to go down journalism talk, but like as a journalist, how did you feel about that? Because that very much seemed like off the record kind of things that were going on. It's in the middle of an interview, but it was off camera, off scene. I don't think that they anticipated that there'd be a camera pointing off to the side where you would see Jordan in the background and hear her kind of interrupting. And they elected to air that. Now, I believe the reports are that wasn't the only interruption, that was going on a number of times, so they chose to air a portion of it for you to understand kind of what you were going on with. But how did you feel kind of seeing that they chose to air that portion of the interview?
I would ask Greg Cody what his rules are on this. Usually when someone says off the record is when things are off the record for print media, but television rules are a little more slippery, and I haven't seen that before. I could understand how Jordan and Belichick would feel betrayed by how it is that played out, even though I could argue that television's only responsibility there is to frame the truth.
I think it's absolutely newsworthy that they aired that. Chances are what she said was the most newsworthy thing to come out of that interview. Absolutely.
This is a new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.